Ouch, that looks like it stings. Does someone want to get him some Neosporin? This is Cry of Fear for Half-Life, or is Half-Life for Cry of Fear. Either way, this mod is spectacular. It has guns, blood and gore, and chainsaws. It seems like the only thing it's missing is women in bikinis giving you the guns to use.
Oh shit!
Cry of Fear is a survival horror mod with a heavy emphasis on being awesome, and it has a story. Check out that 3D menu. What a sight for sore eyes. I know what you might be saying, but no, this is built for the Gold Source engine. In Cry of Fear, you play as Simon, who is the main character of the mod. When walking down the street, he finds a man crawling for his life, and while stopping to help him, a car accelerates into him, turning his whole world upside down. Cry of Fear was developed by Team Psyskaller and was released near the end of February 2012. After we get the shit scared out of us in the beginning sequence with the camera, Simon wakes up in an alleyway with only 6 inventory slots, and we start a journey home to find Mom and figure out what the fuck is going on. Cry of Fear, being survival horror, feels very familiar. Like if you took Resident Evil and Silent Hill The Room and threw them both in a blender along with Half-Life and set it for liquefy. It's like Cry of Fear draws from the atmosphere and ultimate creepiness of Silent Hill, and it takes the action feeling from Resident Evil and seamlessly combines all of it on the Gold Source engine, which has never looked better. Now, the only Silent Hill game I've ever played was The Room for the PlayStation 2, and I kind of can compare it to how demented this mod is to that game. Going into the game, I was expecting to be scared shitless most of the time, and that's where I was disappointed. There were a few parts which struck me by surprise and made me jump out of my chair, but there was nothing scary enough to make me take a break, and most of the time I had extra ammo and weapons, so I really didn't feel like I was in too much danger. But don't get me wrong, this is probably one of the most demented games I've ever played, based on all the crazy stuff in it, like the writing on the wall. The story itself is pretty crazy, and the monsters are nuts. And just some of the cutscenes in the beginning add to it as well. I played through the mod twice, once on easy and the second time on medium, and I could only suspect that increasing the difficulty would make this mod even more crazy. Let's talk about the atmosphere and the music. One of the most overwhelming things about Cry of Fear is how dark it is, especially in the woods area. The lantern you get for that part just barely lights up enough of an area to see where you're going. Anything beyond that, a few feet away from you, is sheer blackness. The music and ambient noise of this game is perfect and spot on. It can make you feel extremely vulnerable and give you goosebumps because of just how creepy it can be, and most of the time it's just plain out eerie, with some of the audio tracks being straight up screaming and pounding. Now, while we're still on the topic of audio, the voice acting in this game also plays a very large part. Stig, who voices Simon, does an amazing job, especially when things get really emotional or intense. That's where Stig shines. I feel the voice acting falls short sometimes when the lines aren't as important, and just don't convince me as much as the more serious lines did.
I don't love you, but I think I could if we got to know each other better. You're so beautiful, Sophie.
Why haven't you said anything?
What the fuck? This isn't making any sense. Was it you who made her do it? Why? Why? You sick fuck!
In Cry of Fear, you play through a first-person perspective as you make your way home. Along the way, you'll be collecting weapons, keys, fuses, and doing whatever you need to get through the door in your path. You'll also be completing a few puzzles too, and it behaves much like Resident Evil when it comes to the puzzles. In this section I'm showing here, you have to read the riddle to figure out where to place the statues in order to unlock the door. Like I said before, you will be collecting items along the way, but you are limited to 6 inventory spaces. Therefore, you will need to make decisions on what to keep and what to leave behind. While this adds to the survival horror aspect of the mod, it can be frustrating to leave a good weapon behind in order to pick up a key which you'll need to get through the next door. Other than that, there are other cool things like the dual wielding system, how you climb the ladders is pretty cool, and there's extra special features like the secret weapons, unlockable hoodies, developer commentary, and that all makes this mod have a high replay value. Another cool feature this mod has is the planned boss battles, and once again it feels very much like Resident Evil in that aspect, which is awesome. And I'm a big fan of the newer Resident Evils, with the behind the shoulder camera. Resident Evil 4 is still my favorite out of the series, and while we're talking about that, for those who don't know, Resident Evil 4 is a moddable game on the PC, however it's limited to weapon models and new textures, but it's great enough where I would recommend the PC version over the Xbox 360 version. As far as the action in Cry of Fear goes, it's similar to Resident Evil. A lot of the monsters in this mod move quickly, and they feel like they're really out to get you and won't stop until you put them down. And to do that, there's a decent arsenal to choose from, ranging from a stick to an M16. Nothing out of the ordinary, but they get the job done. The intensity of the monsters is one of the things that make this mod so awesome. It really feels like they're coming out to get you, and most of them are just so damn fucked up and morbid, it's just hard not to be afraid of them. I can say, for example, with the chainsaw guy, he's probably twice as fast as you, but as long as you can keep on moving, you can stay alive. But one wrong move can cost you your life, and that's just the sense of urgency that can make it so scary for me. The mapping in Cry of Fear has to be the best I've ever seen in a mod, hands down. I knew that about 15 minutes into the mod. Just the crazy amount of detail is what separates this mod from other mods. For example, the apartment complex in the beginning. It's just like every room is unique. With everything that you'd expect to be in it, it feels like they didn't skip anything. While we're talking about the visuals, I'd like to add in I think Cry of Fear looks amazing, from how detailed everything is to the textures, to the bump maps, and the quality of all the special effects added into the water, and the reflection of the water at night, and all the quality of the models. It's all done so wonderfully. It's hard to find anything wrong with the mod. Which is another great segue to my next subject. As many of you already know, this mod was released with bugs. During my playthrough, I crashed several times, and that didn't break my experience with Cry of Fear. As Rumpel has said during several of their interviews and comments on ModDB, they're still finding bugs, and since Cry of Fear is so heavily modified, it's not much of a surprise that there's little hiccups that may occur, but overall, it's not that big of a deal. Cry of Fear is a unique blend of two of my favorite survival action horror games, and it's great fun to play late at night in a dark room. It feels very polished and complete, with features like a custom launcher and updater built right into the mod. The quality of everything is just phenomenal, and the storyline is topped off with great voice acting, and it really makes the mod a statement of how professional Team Psyskaller is. The mod is definitely a must play. This has been Dead Rockstar, and don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and visit modinformer.net.